Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the September 2025 Washington County Quorum Court meeting to order. I want to welcome all of our citizens and ladies and gentlemen on the horseshoe this evening. Good to see everyone. And with that, we'll just get right into it. If everybody will, I would like to stand for the prayer and pledge this evening. Will you bow your heads with me? Heavenly Father, we come before you today, standing at the threshold of challenging matters that weigh heavily on our hearts. You are the God of all wisdom, strength, and truth, and we seek your divine guidance as we navigate these complexities before us. Lord, grant us the courage to face difficult issues with steadfast resolve and unwavering integrity. Fill us with your wisdom to discern the path you would have us take, and let your Spirit guide our words, thoughts, and actions. Help us to approach these challenges with humility, seeking your will above all else. We pray for your peace to unify us, your clarity to illuminate our decisions, and your strength to sustain us. Equip us to tackle these trials with boldness, trusting in your unfailing love to lead us towards what is just and true. We lift this quorum court and all who serve our community up. May your hand be upon us, guiding us through every step as we seek to honor you. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We'll continue on with our agenda. Item number 3 is adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
Justice Rios Stafford.
Move to add an item to the agenda. Item 2025-0057 on the fuel island that we should all have in front of us.
I have a motion to add the item on the fuel island by Justice Rios Stafford. I have a second by Justice Ecke. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? No. That item has been added. Any further motions with regard to the agenda? I'll entertain a motion to adopt as amended. Motion by Justice Ecke, second by Justice Washington. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? The agenda has been adopted. Preliminary motions. Are there any preliminary motions this evening? Justice Dean?
Thank you, Judge. I'd like to make a motion that all ordinances and resolutions be read by title only.
I have a motion to read ordinances and resolutions by title only by Justice Dean. Is there a second? Second by Justice Dennis. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ordinances and resolutions will be read by title only. Next up is citizens' comments. We have a 15-minute citizen comment period with a limit of 3 minutes per individual. Come forward for citizen comments. Please state your name and where you're from. For the record. It's the button on the bottom on the right. If you'll cue it up, we'll get you going. Should be good.
Wendy Finn, 2311 West Lawson Street, Fayetteville. I lost it. I'm a registered nurse. I hold a Master of Public Health. For 300,000 years, humans have lived to be about 33 years old on this planet. They were eating all organic food back then, drinking clean water, and breathing clean air. The reason they died young was the lack of health care, sanitation, hygiene, antibiotics, and vaccinations. People didn't think in terms of population health until the Middle Ages, when 25 million people died from the bubonic plague or Black Death. In the 1700s and 1800s, when this country was being colonized, people developed better hygiene and sanitation practices. In the 1800s, you still could only expect to live to be in your 40s. The mid-1900s, we discovered antibiotics and vaccinations. Life expectancy at that time went from 33 to 73 years old on the heels of those discoveries, breakthroughs. So for 300,000 years of life on the planet, life expectancy, if you survived childhood, the longest you could hope to live was into your 30s or 40s. But in the past 85 years, life expectancy has climbed from 33 to 73 years because of science, because of antibiotics, because of vaccinations. Citizens of Washington County should be concerned about health and diseases of our population in the county. Our taxpayer dollars are currently paying for medical doctors who spread disinformation and do not treat our population with respected science. This affects our population's health, whether we have disease outbreaks, whether our mortality increases, whether our morbidity is worse, whether we incur more medical costs because of preventable illnesses, whether we suffer more deaths and longer hospital stays because of preventable illnesses. This is why medical doctors who understand science and public health are important to us here in Washington County. This is why we need to open up the bid to the contract for the Washington County Detention Health Center so that we can find a provider who practices science and evidence-based health care. Please open up the bidding process now for the Washington County Detention Center healthcare contract so that we can secure a healthcare contract for our county detention center that protects the health of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comments.
My name is David Van Beber. My wife and I live at the end of County Road 505, which is about a mile off War Eagle Blacktop Road west towards Beaver Lake. Our address is 22631 Jennings in Springdale, Arkansas. We have lived at this address for over 10 years and have also owned other properties down this road for more than 20 years. There are many other permanent residents and cabinets located at the end of this road by Beaver Lake. We have attempted to ask the county to pave this County Road 505 for many years to no avail. It has remained a dirt road that the county maintains with periodic grading. We have even offered to help pay for the paving, or at least partially pay for it. On August the 26th, while traveling to Bryce's White River Marine to get a boat part for my boat, by mere chance, I observed the Washington County Road Crew asphalt paving County Road 2122. Upon speaking to the county employee who was directing traffic, we were told that an important person to the county lived on this road, and that is why the road was being paved. Upon further investigation, we discovered that our Quorum Court representative, unfortunately Mr. Lyons is not here, District 5, also lived on this road at 18318 Oak Ridge Road. This paving was occurring the week after the Quorum Court meeting on August the 21st, which I attended. You'll recall that the Quorum Court voted down an ordinance that would have allowed Eagle Crest Recovery to operate its facility without a conditional use permit. I was present at this meeting on the 21st, and it was clear, Judge, at least from my opinion, that you and your council wanted the ordinance to pass, and that our Quorum Court member, Kyle Lyons, voted in favor of the ordinance, which he had not previously supported. He did so even though an overwhelming number of his constituents were opposed to the ordinance. My wife and I, along with many of our neighbors at the end of County Road 505, want the road paved. Most every county road in our immediate area, all the way towards War Eagle Marina, is paved. Obviously, we're not important persons to the county, although we are taxpayers and we want and we deserve the road to be paved. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Public comments.
Good evening. I know most of you here. I would say the majority. There's some of you I don't. My name is Wendy Howerton, and I live at 4057 East Churchill Drive in Fayetteville, Arkansas, 72701. And I am here just to introduce myself to you all. I am running for judge for Division 2, John Threet's position. He's announced he's retiring, and there's nothing I love more than educated voters. So I want to get out here, let everybody get a name and a face, and let you know that I'm going to be one of your candidates in March. I filed my petitions on Monday, which was exciting, kind of made it real. But I've been practicing here in Northwest Arkansas for 20 years. I have handled virtually every type of case that will come in front of that bench, and that experience should be important. I think it will make me uniquely qualified in this particular race. I've lived in Arkansas, in Northwest Arkansas, for 25 years, and I have spent my entire life in Arkansas otherwise. I have 4 children. I'm also a track and a cross-country coach, and I coach out at St. Joe's School in East Fayetteville. Ironically, I've never actually coached one of my own children, just everyone else's, which is probably good. But I just wanted to come in, like I said, meet everyone, tell you who I am, kind of get the lay of the land in the county and some of the issues, which I think that some of our candidates could benefit from doing, find out what the issues are, and stay informed. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comments.
Yes, I'm Lou Reed Sharp. I'm from Tawnytown, Arkansas. You know, the judge and I don't agree on a lot of things, but I watched the county services meeting last week, and you know, and at that committee of the whole, y'all voted to table the discussion, citing legal questions, and concerned about employees' names, and it had to do with the investigation into the county, the investigation done in the county. And in fact, I was very, very proud because my judge does in fact push back, not my judge, my JP does push back against the judge and ask some hard questions sometimes. And he did that night. Let me tell you what, I didn't really know what illegal exaction was. Now I've found out that they're not talking about little bitty pieces of equipment. We're talking about skid steers and scissor lifts and welding things being in sheriff department employees' private homes for months on end. The state police report is available, and some of this has been reported in the paper. But if you read that report, it talks about stripping copper wire and splitting the funds with 309 employees, or 309 inmates, slush funds. You know, this is a serious, I was absolutely stunned to learn the detail and the level of evidence that was being investigated. I mean, you can read the facts. The elected officials, many of them don't want to talk about that. It doesn't look like caution. It looks like we're shoving it under the rug. You know, if the name's redacted, nobody's going to be blamed. The quorum court cannot look the other way. You hold the purse strings. You set the policies. You provide oversight. County equipment needs to be accounted for. Now, if these allegations are exaggerated, then open discussion with names redacted will prove that, and it'll clear the air. We don't want the rank and file sheriff department guys being blamed for all of this stuff if it's higher up people that are abusing the system and using things for personal use. Either way, silence is not an option. I urge you to bring this matter back to the quorum court. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Public comments.
Good evening, Justices, Judge Deakins. I had a speech prepared that I wrote, and I take pride in my writing, so I put a lot of effort into it. And then I started...
I'm sorry, sir. Can you state your name?
Oh,
where you're
Bryson
from for the
Austin.
record?
Sorry
about
Bryson
that.
Austin.
I forgot too. Justice Pond's reminding us. Thank you, sir.
Bryson Austin. I live at the intersection of Leverett and Lawson. But I had a speech prepared, and then I called my mother this morning. Her birthday was yesterday, and we started to talk about just family things and everything that's going with my sister, and then we got on the topic of my grandfather. When I was a junior in high school, he was tragically shot in Little Rock. But I had only known him for a few years because most of my life he spent in prison. for something that he probably felt he needed to do to take care of his family, but for something that has been criminalized by our system. And one thing that my mother never really expresses to me is grief. And I had a friend, a coworker, yesterday tell me that one thing that the country is dealing with that we refuse to cope with is our grief, and we refuse to work through it. And so I've been growing in my empathy and growing in my compassion for people alongside my job. I work at Arkansas Justice Reform Coalition, and I have people calling me every day concerned about their loved ones in jail because they can't afford to get out, when precedent decades ago was that you didn't hold people because they couldn't afford to. They couldn't afford to leave. You held people if they were considered a danger. But judges have given that responsibility to money instead of actually assessing members of our community appropriately. And in all of this, I really realized that transparency and accountability helps you understand people. And it helps you understand what the government is doing and how people are using your taxpayer money and representing you. And I just urge you to be a ton more transparent. The first speaker, or the speaker before me, I think she comes every time and she talks about the same thing, the same problem of the county not being forthcoming about the sheriff's actions. And the county's also not being completely forthcoming about the jail project. I've done some cost analysis. I've seen the bids that have come over budget. I've seen the cost runovers. I've seen the extra additions. You owe the taxpayers an explanation. That's what it is. Transparency. There's a lot that goes on here that I think that people don't know about, but if you publicize it, they can at least understand what you're doing and how you're representing them, and I think they deserve that. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comments.
Good afternoon. Kenneth Lovett, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Were y'all aware that Washington Water Authority was suing Tawnytown for their land, for their water rights? Shortly after Judge Deakins took office, he appointed somebody to the Washington Water Authority. That person came to Tawnytown later and gave those rights to Tawnytown. You can see him in the Tawnytown Council meeting. You can see the discussion. You can see everything. Everything was done legally. And now we're spending our tax dollars to do it. And Washington Water Authority don't have the money to put in the water out there that needs to be put in. Tawnytown does.
Mr. Lovett, Washington Water is an independent agency. They're not
Excuse me,
part of-
sir?
Washington Water Authority is an
Is this
independent
public
agency.
comment or is this judge comment?
I'm just trying to help inform.
I'm just trying to help you, okay? Thank you. If you keep your mouth shut and listen, it would help a bunch. I will, thank you very much. So anyway, Tawnytown has those rights. You are the reason why the person gave it away, in my opinion. Anything I say here is my opinion, if you understand that. I'm not sure you do. I was interrupted. Can I have some more time?
That was about a minute and a half.
Can I have some time, please?
Entertain a motion to add a minute and a half and 4.5 minutes. Justice Ricker, second by Justice Pond. All those in favor? Those opposed? Please continue.
Thank you very much. I appreciate y'all. The judge is very disrespectful to the people. That's my opinion. That's what I've seen. He stood here one time and told me he would not speak to me because I was disrespectful. The problem was he was not listening. That's all I got to say. This is wrong.
Thank you. Public comments.
Hello, my name is Tara Putnam, and I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Did you know that there have been 11 children in America that have been killed in the month of September by guns? The root cause of gun violence in America is a combination of human brokenness, social neglect, and a lack of effective safeguards. Easy access to firearms, unrelated mental health issues, domestic strife, poverty, and community instability create conditions where conflicts often turn deadly. At its core, gun violence is an expression of sin, brokenness, and the failure of society to protect the vulnerable. The Bible reminds us in Proverbs 31, 8 through 9, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. This verse calls us to act, to implement policies and systems that protect life, address social inequalities, and prevent violence before it occurs. Gun violence is preventable, and this community has prevented it. Thank you. And it is our moral responsibility to continue to address the conditions that allow it to flourish. That's why I want to thank the Washington County Quorum Court for the positive steps already taken to address challenges like homelessness and the community needs around us. These are the very kinds of policies that help reduce the root causes of violence. I urge all of us, all of you, to continue building on this work by implementing policies that strengthen juvenile mental health support, reduce instability, and promote safety in our neighborhoods. Together, we can create a safer community where children and families are protected from this preventable tragedy. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, that'll end our public comments. Item number 6 is approval of the minutes. The minutes were handed out in the packet. I'd entertain a motion to accept those minutes, barring any corrections. Motion to accept by Justice Dean, second by Justice Rio Stafford. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? The minutes have been accepted. And now it's time for the county judge's report. Got a lengthier one this evening. First of all, I want to thank, as we always do, the staff of the Washington County Master and Gardeners who come. We have a club from the Extension Office every meeting that brings us refreshments, and I really appreciate that and want to let them know that the hospitality is very much appreciated. The disposal report is in your packet. We've had a little bit of cleanup going on. You can see those court orders and the details there. If you have any questions about that, please get with me or the associated department. We can get those answered. We have some special dates and announcements in the next couple weeks that I want everybody to please save the date for and be engaged in if you can. First off is we're going to have our special joint meeting between the Washington and Benton County Quorum Courts. That will be Monday, September 22nd, this next Monday, at 6 p.m. at Springdale City Hall. We're going to hear from a consultant from the NWA Council who's going to highlight some growth challenges that they're going to see and illustrate for us so that we can be more informed as we continue to make our decisions. There is no official business at that meeting. There will not be any official votes taken, but we will call roll, and we would appreciate everybody trying to be there and be engaged. I think it's going to be a really good way to learn about the future of our region. The big event in my radar right now is the ribbon cutting of our Emergency Operations Center, which will occur next Wednesday, the 24th at 9 a.m. We invite all of our wonderful citizens and, of course, the justices of the peace to be our distinguished guests there. I want you to know that that's not only just a way to honor the building and tour it, but also it's going to be an opportunity for us to really honor our first responders and all the incredible work they do, and to also dedicate this asset that will truly help them to the service of the people. And so I invite everybody to come down there and let's get started on the right foot. Also, on October 9th, we're going to host a special planning board meeting here in the Quorum Court chambers. We've invited Jeff Hawkins to that meeting. If you recall, Mr. Hawkins is the author of our proposed ordinance that we've been working on for quite some time now. We've really taken a step back, and we're wanting to put this back on square one. Mr. Hawkins is going to come in and explain the issues that he sees with our current process, which he's been advising us for over the years. Also, he's going to give background on the zoning process that we had included in the proposed ordinance that we brought to you, ladies and gentlemen, so that if you have any questions or anything, it'll be at 6 o'clock that evening on October 9th. The other thing is, please come prepared for questions. I think what Mr. Hawkins has explained to us and what would really be helpful is with the planning board and then also with you ladies and gentlemen input too is what is our goal with planning? What is the goal? And I think maybe he could incorporate those goals or discuss those goals with us and make sure we're on the right path. And so back to square one, we want to bring Jeff Hawkins in for the discussion, and we invite any input that we can. Look for more details about that. We'll probably refine that. It'll be an effort to gain insights and input on the future. That's what we're looking for. We're wanting people to be engaged, insights into the future. County court. As many of you probably don't appreciate, as county judge, I still oversee a county court. Those powers, of course, with the circuit judges over time have been stripped away and put more appropriately in the judicial courts, but we still do oversee the county court. That deals with certain specific cases like dog attacks within the county, animal control issues. They also deal with landlocked cases within the county. Those follow within the purview of the county judge, and then anything that deals with the county road falls for the purview of the county judge. But learning from the AAC over the past year, they really see that as a tool to really to communicate with the public. And what I want to say here at Washington County, we're constantly brainstorming on how to proactively be looking for ways to engage the public and make just local government more approachable. And so what we're going to do is we're going to expand our utilization of the county court, and now we'll see this as a perfect way to communicate with the public. It allows us to give insight into some of the more detailed work that maybe we don't initially push out or appreciate, like those animal control cases or those landlocked cases. People will be able to look at those records. A lot of those are filed with the county clerk, but there'll also be a resource online for that. And what I'll say is all of our county resources, reports, court orders will be prominently displayed there. I invite the public to start interacting with this resource. And what I want everybody to appreciate is we see this as an iterative process. We're going to start out, you'll see some of that this evening, with what this looks like. Mr. Allen, I think could you pull that website up? It might be available to us this evening to see. Our website is quite complex because unlike the municipalities, we do have several independent elected officials within the county, and they all maintain their web pages, but we'll try to pull that up and see. But what I was saying is this is an iterative process. We don't consider it perfect from the rollout, so we invite any criticism or feedback from the public about what would make this more user-friendly and utilize it. We'll give this a minute here to pop up. So yes, if you go to government, county judge, this is what is essentially the business page, and if you go over, you can see now that there is a county court tab, but also underneath that, I believe the reports, that's supposed to be a sub button underneath county court, and we'll go ahead and move that underneath there at some point. But if Mr. Allen, if you'll click on that report right there, the reports tab, I believe, this is our first resource, and this is going to transition us directly into a big goal of transparency tonight. This is the Arkansas State Police investigation that was followed up by our investigation at the county. We received this from a Freedom of Information Act request from the Arkansas State Police. This includes all of their investigation materials, and it also fully includes the Washington County investigation that is now redacted. And with that, what I want to say tonight is we want to present this tonight. And as part of the judge's report, that's what we're about to do. And I'm going to have a few comments on this before we tee this up. From the inception of this matter all the way to tonight, I want you to know that me and my team have endeavored to make all of this information as public as possible. We knew that this would be a contentious issue. We knew that it could be judged by others of motivations, and so we've always tried to put all of our materials out, even when others have tried to stop us. We all work for the people, and they own this information. I also want to tell and make this very specific. My team chooses to talk in public meetings and public settings, fully transparent to the community, not to snail mail secret letters to the JPs in order to influence a situation behind closed doors. No, any member of the public has a right to this information. And I also want people to know we are available to discuss this with anyone, answer any questions that any citizen might have, as best as we can to our ability. To the point above, I want to open with some clarifications on some misstatements that have been put out. Some have made the absurd claim that the special prosecutor's letter exonerated the sheriff's department, and that is totally false. This has now been investigated 3 times, once by the sheriff's office, once by the county attorney's office, and once by state police. You'll see through these reports and comments made, the only investigation that was considered inadequate was the sheriff's office investigation, and that was notated by the Arkansas State Police. The special prosecutor himself is quoted in news reporting saying, quote, or this letter did not, or quote, did not exonerate anyone, quote. Those accused question the motivations of our efforts. And what I want to say is, I am required by the Constitution, state statute, county policy, and my oath to look into all matters of malfeasance when it comes to county property. I am obligated. And let me be absolutely clear. These accusations came to me through whistleblower reports. At the end of the day, we do this for the love of our county and in support of the rank-and-file deputies that have had to live under such poor leadership for so long. The individuals who love to serve the public, but who suffer under bullying. The deputy who retired early because they just couldn't stand it anymore. The dedicated deputy that leaves after 20 years of service for no other reason than, quote, it's just too weird down there now, end quote. You will hear factual, uncontested information on these cases tonight. And while the crimes themselves are egregious enough, the toxic culture which they have highlighted is the most disgusting issue we face. Throughout this process, the sheriff has defended all these actions by saying this was their culture. It's one of the few things in this whole issue that I agree with the sheriff on. They do have a very poor culture, but the establishment of a poor culture over the course of 2 decades does not excuse you from infractions of the law. We have been met with nothing but pushback and defiance at every turn from the sheriff's office leadership. You don't have to take our words for anything. Many are raising concerns, not just us here at the county. You can also hear determinations about the critical state of our sheriff's office from other agencies. From the Fayetteville Police Department, who conducted an unrelated investigation into another ongoing situation, stated, quote, both investigators feel there is a culture where outdated behavior has been accepted and allowed to continue to the detriment of the agency. In the Arkansas State Police report, they say, quote, this investigation underscores significant systemic issues within the sheriff's office, emphasizing the urgent need for reform and enhanced accountability to safeguard public resources and uphold our wonderful ethical standards here within the county. And tonight, what I want to say is the hearsay ends here once and for all. The public gets to hear the facts. It's my absolute honor to welcome Chief Stewart and Counselor Baker to the podium. I want to share the floor with him tonight. I also want to say thank God we have dedicated public servants like these two who will show up and do these difficult tasks. Chief Stewart, Counselor Baker, the floor is yours.
I want to say that what I'm about to say tonight is not easy. This is very difficult for me. Sheriff's office was home for over 13 years. And this is a black eye on the entire county. But we have a duty to the citizens and the taxpayers to be transparent and to serve with integrity and accountability, no matter what. And that's why we're up here doing this tonight. It was said a few weeks ago that we were a bully pulpit that was trying to air dirty laundry in an attempt to devastate someone. I disagree. What we're doing is fighting for the citizens of Washington County to have the right to know that their hard-earned tax dollars are being wasted and stolen without repercussion. One thing I agree with in Tim Helder's statement from a couple weeks ago is when he says that he thinks it's ridiculous that this investigation has been conducted multiple times. I agree, that's ridiculous. Once should have been enough, but it's hard to find fault when you're investigating yourself. What he conveniently left out was that the special prosecuting attorney stated this investigation would be better handled as an illegal exaction case rather than a criminal case, and finished by clearly stating that this investigation did not exonerate anyone. I want to emphasize and be very clear that what I'm about to read is all direct quotes and excerpts from the Arkansas State Police report concerning the investigation into Washington County Sheriff's Office. This covers the allegations of misuse and theft of county property and funds. The state police report, again, was received through a legal FOIA request. And everything I'm reading is the exact cut and paste from their report. He stated that proceeds from scrapped air conditioners were traditionally used for interdepartmental purposes, such as employee lunches and necessities for 309s. Weathers further noted that the scrapped air conditioners were not listed on the county's inventory and did not require a destruction order. He explained that proceeds were kept in a lockbox at the facility, with approximately $800 remaining, while he was unable to confirm the alleged $1,200 amount. He emphasized that these practices aligned with historical norms within the sheriff's office. The sheriff's internal investigation initially minimized the misconduct, whereas the judge's office and legal analysis found credible evidence of violations and recommended structural changes to prevent reoccurrence. Another significant allegation centered on the use of county-owned equipment, including a skid steer and a scissor lift at Weathers' residence. He admitted to using the equipment, but justified this as training to improve proficiency, particularly with the skid steer in an open area. He also acknowledged trimming trees with the scissor lift, stating that such practices were informally accepted within the department and had been in place since his employment began in 2004. Weathers maintained that his actions were consistent with long-standing informal practices within the sheriff's office. He denied any misuse of funds or equipment for personal gain beyond what was accepted within the department, and expressed a willingness to cooperate with the investigation. He acknowledged the stress caused by the inquiries, but reiterated that his actions were in line with the established norms and practices during his tenure. An investigative report from Chief of Staff Mike Stewart revealed multiple concerns about the use of county resources, accountability, and oversight within the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Another employee disclosed that brass from spent rounds and pop cans from the commissary are recycled, with proceeds given to personnel for various uses. Equipment borrowing, such as the skid steer, was described as uncommon, contrary to the allegations. Major McConnell admitted to using the skid steer off county property, aligning with statements by 309 Franco, though he denied personal misuse. Efforts to interview key personnel, including Weathers and Cottle, were unsuccessful as they refused to cooperate with the investigation, asserting they complied with the sheriff's internal probe. Weathers, who was investigated for using county-owned equipment at his residence, made inconsistent statements about his qualifications and the use of simulators to improve his skills. Records contradicted his claims, revealing substantial hours were logged on the skid steer during its time at his property. He also faced allegations regarding proceeds from scrapping air conditioners and other materials, with receipts revealing amounts inconsistent with his statements. Funds were reportedly used for department activities, yet discrepancies arose over their handling and transparency. Similar concerns surrounded brass and vehicle part recycling, where funds were claimed to be used for awards, but again, inconsistent with the invoices. The investigation highlighted a lack of oversight in the Washington County Sheriff's Office Maintenance Department, with employees described as operating without guidance or accountability. Findings suggested county-owned property was improperly sold, removed, and funds used for personal purposes, such as cookouts. The investigator recommended reassigning maintenance, IT, and HR personnel under centralized Washington County departments to ensure accountability, streamline operations, and strengthen unity across county government. The lack of cooperation and systemic issues point to more profound challenges within the Washington County Sheriff's Office management structure. Again, I want to reiterate, this is quotes from the Arkansas State Police Criminal Investigation Division's report. This is not my words. The investigation into Weathers and McConnell reveals concerning patterns of misuse of county property for personal benefit, supported by inconsistencies in their accounts and corroborative testimony. The mental states of reasonably believes and knowingly apply here. Both individuals demonstrated awareness of their actions and the associated circumstances, as evidenced by their acknowledgement of the county property checkout process and their deliberate use of equipment for personal gain. This behavior aligns with Arkansas law's interpretation of personal gain, which includes saving costs that would otherwise be incurred by renting, leasing, or hiring these services. Weathers admitted to using county equipment such as a scissor lift and skid steer for personal tasks like trimming trees at his home, contradicting earlier statements about its use. He claimed the equipment presence at his home was incidental or related to practice, yet his repeated acknowledgement of its use for personal property undermines these assertions. The Sheriff's Office response to these allegations demonstrates a lenient investigative approach. For example, when initial complaints arose regarding the scissor lift, Chief Tabor dismissed the matter upon seeing equipment in the shop without directly questioning Weathers. Subsequent allegations of the skid steer's use at Weathers' home elicited a confession, yet the internal investigation failed to calculate or address the monetary value of such usage. Arkansas Supreme Court precedents emphasize that unauthorized use of public equipment constitutes theft, with damages calculated based on rental or work value. These precedents underscore the seriousness of Weathers' actions, with his adamant minimal use valued at $3,300, which is above a felony threshold. Further estimates suggest his use over 2 decades could total up to $42,000. McConnell's use, though lesser, also represents unauthorized benefit at taxpayer expense. Witness accounts and Weathers' own statements suggest a culture within the Sheriff's Office that tolerates such misuse among certain personnel while denying it to others. This dynamic, coupled with Weathers' alleged blackmail of McConnell through a covertly taken photograph, points to deeper ethical and operational concerns. Additional allegations hint at broader misuse of county equipment for private property maintenance by others within the Sheriff's Office. Ultimately, the Sheriff's Office investigation appears inadequate in addressing these allegations, financial and ethical implications, failing to apply the necessary legal standard, or to thoroughly assess the broader cultural and procedural deficiencies within the department. Again, this is State Police Criminal Investigations Division's report. Ridenauer, who's a retired Sheriff's Office lieutenant, described Weathers' shop as being off limits to most staff and tightly controlled. He noted that Weathers' behavior, along with the complicity of figures like McConnell, created an environment of fear and silence. He emphasized that this culture of intimidation and a lack of accountability contributed to the broader issues of misuse and mismanagement. Ridenauer explained that while the county purchased a skid steer, it was taken by Weathers and he didn't see it for months. He stated that as the lieutenant overseeing the services department, which include transport and community service, he was unaware that the Sheriff's Office even had a skid steer until an employee informed him that it was at Weathers' house. He also reported that a lift was being used at Weathers' house and that a gas-powered welder had been missing for close to 2 years. Additionally, a damaged pole saw was returned after being dropped in water. When asked about the skid steer's purchase justification, Ridenauer said he didn't know, nor was he involved in acquiring it. He was told Weathers had carte blanche to make purchases within his budget. When he confronted Weathers, he was told to mind his own business. Weathers also indicated that if he faced consequences over the skid steer, others, including Major McConnell, would also be implicated. Ridenauer stated that he believes higher-ups might also have benefited from the equipment. Baker inquired about the reporting procedure for unusual or improper activities. Ridenauer stated that employees were instructed to report such issues to their supervisors, but many hesitated out of fear of retaliation from the higher-ups. He described the workplace as toxic, with employees intimidated by bullies who could retaliate with write-ups or terminations. He also noted that Weathers exerted control over his shop, restricting access to high-ranking officers while allowing access to 309 inmates. This raised concerns as it created opportunities for inappropriate and unsafe situations. Ridenour also discussed irregularities with donated goods and county funds. He noted that Walmart often donated bulk items, but after the most recent donation, the items were taken to Weathers' shop where their fate was unknown. Regarding 309 inmates, Ridenour described how Franco alleged that Weathers and Cottle gave money to Lewis, another 309 inmate, from the sale of scrap materials, including air conditioners. Franco reportedly became upset when his promised money from a similar transactions was not received. Franco's allegations prompted an internal investigation during which he reported additional concerns to the investigators. However, Franco was quickly transferred, which many saw as a warning to all the other inmates not to speak out. The interview also revealed discrepancies in how cash from recycling was handled. Ridenour disclosed a slush fund of over $2,000 in cash that was kept in a glove box, allegedly from recycling brass to pay for engraving retirement gifts. When this came to light, efforts were made to retrieve the money and tighten procedures. Ridenour expressed frustration with the process, noting that Franco's transfer and the involvement of the individuals implicated in wrongdoing undermined the investigation's credibility. Finally, when asked about tools and equipment, Ridenour described Weathers' shop as being off limits to most staff and tightly controlled. He noted that Weathers' behavior, along with the complicity of figures like McConnell, created an environment of fear and silence. He emphasized that this culture of intimidation and a lack of accountability contributed to the broader issues and misuse and mismanagement. Funds generated from the scrap metal sales were reportedly used for personnel or unauthorized purposes, such as meals and retirement gifts. These funds were neither documented nor deposited properly, directly violating county policy and possibly Arkansas law. Additionally, Weathers used the county purchasing card, which included unauthorized transactions such as personal items, excessive equipment, and boots that exceeded policy limits. The lack of oversight enabled these questionable transactions, further highlighting the need for improved financial controls. The investigation also uncovered potential violations of the 309 inmate program. Allegations suggest that inmates were used for private benefit, including constructing personal property for Weathers. Payments to inmates in cash, as revealed in the interviews, further violated program policies and state regulations. These issues expose a broader lack of accountability within the Sheriff's Office. Legal and policy violations identified include mismanagement and personal gain from public funds, which contradict Arkansas statutes, ethical codes, and county policies. The Sheriff's Office failure to document or supervise these activities worsened the situation. Recommendations from the investigation include conducting a comprehensive audit of scrapyard transactions linked to the accused individuals and returning any misappropriated funds to the taxpayers, strengthening cash handling policies, and ensuring proper revenue deposits with the county treasurer are also essential steps. Furthermore, strict oversight of P-card transactions is advised. With potential revocation of privileges for policy violations, the investigation also recommends further inquiry into 309 inmate program allegations and adherence to state regulations. To address systemic issues, the realignment of jail maintenance roles under the Buildings and Grounds Department is suggested for improved accountability. Revised purchasing and inventory management policies is also crucial to prevent future misconduct. This investigation underscores significant systemic issues within the Sheriff's Office, emphasizing the urgent need for reform and enhanced accountability to safeguard the public resources and uphold the ethical standards Again, state police investigation words, not mine.
Abuse of public trust occurs when a public employee has a benefit or some kind of advantage only because of the fact they're in that position. In other words, when a county employee takes county equipment home to work on their property, or when a county employee takes used equipment, sells it for scrap, and keeps the money for themselves, or when a county employee uses that stolen money to pass out favors for others who help them remain in such a profitable position, that employee has violated public trust. That employee has committed a violation of public trust at such a foundational level that it is not best described as a violation of state law, but instead a violation of the Arkansas Constitution. This employee has committed constitutional violations of citizens' rights, what the courts call an illegal exaction. The state's special prosecuting attorney, who reviewed all the investigations together, said in conclusion, quote, "The proper remedy here is found in the Arkansas Constitution, Article 16, Section 13, which gives rise to a civil cause of action in cases of illegal exaction," close quote. Any citizen of the county can sue to address this violation in court. It's your constitutional right. We're here today to talk about specific violations that have occurred over many years by many people in leadership positions at the sheriff's office. But these specifics are just a snapshot in time, just examples of the culture that's been the norm for years, decades. The previous administration was excellent at creating a beautiful circle of wagons, impenetrable to the public, hiding their actions in the center of a completely opaque system. They're opaque even from the county government itself. They have their own email system, which we cannot send countywide emails or policy updates through. They have their own HR, who keeps the personnel files for their people down in their filing cabinet, unavailable to the county. Their legal advisor helps them keep the wagons tight as best he can, and an employee has carte blanche to buy whatever they want, including a $104,000 piece of equipment that the sheriff's office never needed, making sure it, quote, fits their stuff at home, and taking it away for months to their private property where they were completing a couple of very nice construction projects. This system, this opaque system, was set up with a purpose, and that purpose is not to serve the taxpayer. Our internal investigation uncovered several large, well-documented illegal exactions and discovered other avenues for further investigation, some of which are being looked into now. Not only did the sheriff's office leadership shield these facts from the public and even from their internal records, they did not change anything to correct it. We looked at this for a year. The leadership culture at the sheriff's office today is the exact system set up over the past decade or longer. Nothing has changed. They know and have known this type of thing has been going on for years and more, probably much more. And they have done nothing. No terminations, no acknowledgement that the structure needs to change, not even a sheet of paper dropped in a personnel file. Nothing. Well, one brief email from their legal advisor reminding them that taking home county property is generally inadvisable and reminding them not to put county cash in their pockets. Guys, the sheriff's office has a corrupt culture among leadership. They cover for each other. They blackmail each other. They circle the wagons. They tell their staff, this will blow over. We've been through this kind of thing before. And when it finally all begins to crumble and fall apart, the only tool they have to fight it is to shut down the conversation. We've seen that. We know this culture of giving favors, taking favors, blackmail, and cover-up is the leadership culture at the sheriff's office. We know this because we have the receipts, at least for this narrow investigation. We know it because the rank and file are tired of living under it, and they're starting to talk about it. The wagons are getting loose. The good old boys are getting old. The generations are changing. The old guard is changing, and we're talking about it. They try to frame this culture as one of helping out a friend in need and relentlessly use the example of loaning out folding chairs and tables for weddings and funerals. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about an example of the culture and the leadership class at the sheriff's office. And the best and biggest example, the one that's easiest to understand, scrap and copper might be easier to understand, but we'll get to that. A county employee, a high-ranking employee at the sheriff's department, purchased a piece of equipment that was not necessary at the cost of about $104,000, including many attachments such as a snow sweep and a ditch digger that were also not necessary. The road department is right across the street in case of snow. Buildings and grounds is right across the street if they need some odd piece of equipment. But this employee needed their own. This employee spent $104,000 of taxpayer funds to purchase a piece of equipment unnecessary for the sheriff's office, and immediately, according to witness accounts, took it to their private property where they were constructing some large projects. Let's pause here for a moment. Imagine a person owns a business, and a brassy, full of himself employee comes up to that owner and says, "You don't need it for your business, but I'm going to use your account to buy a $104,000 piece of equipment that I'll use at my house." What are the chances of that employee getting a yes? From witness accounts, one of the county's employees had a skid steer at their home for multiple weeks or months to use on personal projects. Don't we all have personal projects? Things we want to do around the house? It gets expensive when you have to rent heavy equipment. If the employee had rented heavy equipment, the cost, if rented from the lowest price around, and I did call, would be at least $3,000 if they had only kept it a couple of weeks, and more likely closer to $11,000 based on witness accounts. That's just one piece of equipment. There's a chart in the report with a table of accounting. The total, just from what we looked at in this narrow investigation, is probably between $24,000 on the low end and $42,000 on the high end. And those numbers are well into felony territory. But the witness accounts are not the only evidence we have that this employee used county equipment on their private property. The skid steer we're talking about, the $104,000 piece of equipment, was purchased with 1 hour of use on it. With equipment like this, the use is measured in hours, similar to mileage on a vehicle. Witness accounts, again, describe 2 or 3 uses at the sheriff's office before the investigation was initiated. So maybe 5 or 10 hours, something like that. When we began the investigation, we took a photo of the current hours on the machine at that time, 76 hours. If you started the machine at 8 o'clock on Monday morning, it would be running at noon on Thursday, nonstop around the clock. What work was this machine doing during those extra 65 or 70 hours if it was not being used at the sheriff's office? When we look at the law in Arkansas, specifically for this type of illegal exaction, where public goods are used for private benefit, the court in Arkansas, the Arkansas Supreme Court, calculates the damage by the amount of money the person was enriched by not having to rent the same equipment on the open market. And the requisite state of mind for this type of event to be viewed as illegal is not intention. Thinking it was fine for 20 years would not be considered an excuse. The requisite state of mind is just that it happened. To quote the Arkansas Supreme Court, quote, "The intent required is not conscious wrongdoing, but rather an intent to exercise dominion or control over the goods that is in fact inconsistent with the plaintiff's rights," close quote. Again, these items are purchased with public funds. And as I said, this example is not the only piece of equipment. There was also a gas welder, a scissor lift, a dump trailer, and a gas pole saw that the county repaired with taxpayer funds after being dropped in a pond. The employee admitted using it to cut limbs over a pond in their property. Again, the taxpayer paid that repair bill. When I think of a Washington County taxpayer, I like to think of my mother. She's on a fixed income. She has to plan and save to buy her grandchildren Christmas presents. But she bought an $800 pole saw and then paid to fix it when it was dropped in someone's private pond. And the sheriff's office thinks this is fine. This is their culture. This is widespread. This is the attitude their leadership class has toward the taxpayer. So now we get to the scrapyard. And again, we have all the receipts and documentation. Read the report. State law clearly outlines how to get rid of used county property. The Arkansas Constitution is crystal clear that the county judge has authority over all county property, regardless of its source of funding or to which elected official it may be assigned. To that end, the county judge signs a disposal order for property after the assessor has placed a value on it and Buildings and Grounds has been notified to remove it from inventory and insurance. Then it may be auctioned or sold for scrap, with the proceeds going into the county treasury. Here, at least some of the AC units were removed from the building with the help of the 309s, dismantled, and taken to the scrapyard for sale with zero documentation. The employee who scrapped these units stated in the Sheriff's Office internal investigation that these AC units didn't require a destruction order. A cursory review of state law or even a Google search would have corrected this opinion. Additionally, the scrap was sold not under Washington County's account, which is longstanding and well-established, but under the employee's personal account. And the money was not deposited in the county treasury, it was kept. In fact, nothing has been deposited in the treasury from anyone in the sheriff's office for about 5 years previous to this investigation. Though AC units are scrapped all the time, as well as numerous other items. The sheriff's office said they deposited all the cash on hand when the investigation brought these illegal exactions to light, but I don't see the numbers add up. And what about all the cash from previous years? Where has it gone? The sheriff's office claims to have some kind of internal record keeping for all this floating cash, but that's not what the law requires. The law requires public accounting. The law requires transparency. And the stories they tell about it do not add up. Let's talk about that. The sheriff's office says they use this cash for parties and to get handguns engraved for retiring deputies. You'll see in the report that I got a list of every retirement from the sheriff's office for the past 7 years, both staff and certified officers. Then I looked through our county financial records to find payments for handgun engraving. The county saw 24 certified officers retire in those years, and the county paid for 22 engravings. 24 retired, the county paid for 22. And these are normal county payments paid through the software, not for cash from the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office had thousands in cash floating around at any given time. One employee had $2,510.32 of taxpayer cash in their glove box, for example. Read the report, it's all in there. Was all of that used on parties and lunches? Who was invited to those? The maintenance shop at the sheriff's office is something to behold. It was built specially. And who can come and go is extremely tightly restricted, as opposed to other shops on the sheriff's office campus. When Chief Stewart and I went over to inspect and photograph the contents, it almost didn't happen. The staff on duty were visibly fearful of letting us in there without this employee's permission. The maintenance shop. What does he have in there? What are these private lunches and parties like? Who's invited? Why did they not want others to see? Now let's talk about blackmail. There's an employee who is reported by multiple witnesses to have taken a photo of another leader at the sheriff's office with what by all accounts appears to be the intention of blackmail. Why would you take a photo of your coworker engaged in the same illegal activity as you? And why would you make a remark when a bypasser asks why the photo is being taken, saying that it's in case anyone says anything? In the past, the sheriff's office had a question about buying squares for football games, some kind of lottery thing, whether it would be legal to do that as public employees. Their answer? Get the prosecutor to buy one. That way you don't have to worry about it. That's their culture. That's their good old boy culture. Just to give one memorable example of stories not adding up, an interviewee plainly lied in the internal investigation at the sheriff's office, and the simplest follow-up would have revealed the lie. And just for clarity, the sheriff's office investigators, professional law enforcement officers, did not collect evidence that I ever saw in any effort to corroborate or cast down the claims made during their own internal investigation. Not one. Chief Stewart and I did that. We checked with the treasurer to see if funds were ever deposited. We went to the scrapyard and collected photos and receipts. We checked the county records to see whether the sheriff's office was actually using their cash to pay for retirement pistol engravings. But the lie that has stuck with me the most through all this investigation is an employee saying their use of the skid steer at their private property was for practice. First, that's ridiculous on its face, as the sheriff's office sits on an 80-plus acre campus, and I imagine they could have found a spot. Second, they asserted that their interest in learning to operate the skid steer was so profound that they trained for it on the simulator at the Fayetteville Public Library. Now, the library simulator is pretty neat. I love the idea. You go to the simulator and can practice on various types of heavy equipment. The interesting thing is, none of them is a skid steer or a piece of equipment similar to a skid steer. Look in the report. I printed the list of what they offered at the time. And another thing, you do need a library card to use the simulator. Based on our emails with the library, the sheriff's office didn't follow up on that one either. Why is the sheriff's office so eager to cover all of this up? I have another why. Why do we have all the documentation of our report, and yet the employee in question still gets a paycheck from the very taxpayers they are harming? I think we know why. Why have they worked so hard to silence this conversation? A conversation about the fraudulent use of public money and the betrayal of public trust. A conversation about the rotting leadership culture at the sheriff's office. Why would they work so hard to silence the conversation we're having now? I think you're all personally aware of how hard they are willing to work to shut this conversation down and can attest to that. Everyone in this room can. We saw it a few weeks ago. All this investigation by all these agencies, all the facts and documents, the evidence of these violations of public trust, is just a symptom of a culture. We have low tax rates in Washington County and lots of money in the bank, but that does not mean we want to see our taxpayer money wasted. And above all, we don't want to see it lining employees' pockets. Quorum Court, you have to fix this. We've done our part. Let me close with this quote from the Arkansas State Police report. Quote, "This investigation underscores significant systemic issues within the sheriff's office, emphasizing the urgent need for reform and enhanced accountability to safeguard public resources and uphold ethical standards." Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Stewart and Counselor Baker. I consider these two individuals heroes. They've taken on an incredibly difficult job in the face of a lot of adversity. I've seen them struggle over the past year and a half, but I'm proud that they showed up every day. I want to make a couple comments to close. As you are all aware, and I want to just address these, the sheriff has volleyed accusations of feeling like this process has been a gotcha moment and that we have not been collaborative in our investigatory efforts. Let me respond by saying this. I cannot overstate what a watershed moment the September 12th, 2024 meeting in my office was that I described in my cover letter to the county investigation. That meeting, that moment, was when we thought, that was when we wanted to be collaborative with the sheriff's office leadership. That's the moment we expected to get buy-in to make our county, our beloved county, the best it can be. Instead, we were met with ridicule and dismissive anger. Chief Deputy Tabor questioned and mocked Chief Stewart on what kind of possible investigation he could produce. And Sheriff Cantrell asked me if we needed a fall guy. That was a devastating moment for me, and it was extremely eye-opening. And I hope you and the public can all understand why at that moment they were excluded from collaborating on our investigation. The lack of effective and minimal leadership at the sheriff's office, and then the lack of action and the defiance in covering their actions has brought shame and dishonor to our county. I truly love Sheriff Cantrell as Christ commands us to love, and I've been devastated by this. I've lost a personal relationship and a man that I have truly respected for a long time. But I pray that Sheriff Cantrell muster enough honor to try and salvage this situation and put our county back on track. And I pray he start doing the right thing. To the Quorum Court, we've been astounded by the lack of interest in these proven matters to this point. I had spoken with several of you and was shocked that the report hadn't even been read as recently as a couple weeks ago. And what I have to say is, please, I know this is a difficult process, and I certainly never asked for it myself. But I'm asking you to listen to the details that have been shared with you tonight, earnestly engage with the information, and take action to help us to prevent this from ever happening again. We do it in the name of our county. We do it in the name of the deputy. Be as brave as our dedicated staff was tonight and over the past year and a half. And with that, let's close this and move on with our meeting. We have a couple items of unfinished business at this point. Counselor, will you read item 8 by title only?
Item 8 is an ordinance amending the membership of the Washington County Planning Board.
Justice Rio Stafford? I forgot the important part. Sorry.
Thank you, Judge. This ordinance is on its third reading tonight, and I'm going to move to table it permanently. But first, I wanted to explain to the public why. In August, a new state law took effect saying that the majority of a county planning board must live in the unincorporated county. At that point, our planning board did not meet that requirement. This ordinance would have solved that problem by adding 2 new seats to the planning board, which could have brought us into compliance by adding 2 new members from unincorporated areas without cutting anyone's term short. At last month's Quorum Court meeting, the majority chose a different solution. They chose to fix the problem by having the judge appoint a brand new board. Unfortunately, that meant removing Mr. Joe Maynard, even though his term wasn't finished. I didn't like that choice for that reason. But at the end of the day, what matters most is keeping our county business moving. We're growing fast, and many applicants are in the pipeline, and they deserve timely decisions from their local government. I spoke to Mr. Maynard this week, and he agreed with that. So unless we hear otherwise, that there was some issue with the decision of the majority of the Quorum Court, the action stands, and the issue is resolved. So tonight, I move to table this ordinance.
I have a motion to table indefinitely by Justice Rio Stafford. Do I have a second? Second by Justice Rivera Lopez. Any further discussion?
Yeah, it's a motion you discuss.
Any discussion on the item? Justice Lemming?
You know, our population's grown quite a bit, and the Quorum Court's gotten bigger. It's got 15 people around the horseshoe. I don't understand why we don't need more people in the planning to help make better decisions. And I think it's a good idea personally, but I'll go with either way.
Any other further discussion? I have a motion to table indefinitely by Justice Rio Stafford. A second, Justice Pond?
I completely understand why this motion's being tabled. I'm gonna say I was one of the ones, and I completely agree with Justice Rios Stafford. But I'd also like to say that, and this is not necessarily a reflection on the board. Another reason why I thought maybe increasing the number, it seemed like from time to time we have something come up where some kind of planning issue didn't come about because there was lack of a quorum at these meetings. And I was kind of hopeful increasing the numbers so maybe there would be a quorum there to do business and we wouldn't have to skip a month. That's really, it kind of disappoints me because it's a hindrance to, and more than just a hindrance to developers, or in developers is kind of a cold way to put it, because a lot of times that's maybe some small mom and pop business that is trying to do business in a legal way in the county. I won't go on with that, but again, I'll say I appreciated you coming forward with the ordinance, and I do understand why you're dropping it. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Pond. Any further discussion? We have a motion to table indefinitely by Justice Rios Stafford, a second by Justice Rivera Lopez. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 8 has been tabled indefinitely. Item number 9, Counselor, you read that by title only?
Item 9 is an ordinance de-appropriating surplus amounts from the full-time salaries for various departments and restoring to unappropriated reserves as required by the 2025 budget controls.
Any discussion or motions with regard to item number 9.1? Justice Ecke?
Thank you, Judge. I make a motion to pass item number 9.1.
I have a motion to pass item 9.1 by Justice Ecke, a second by Justice Dennis. Any further discussion on the item by the court? Any public comments on item 9.1? Seeing none, we're going to take up the question. I have a motion to pass item 9.1 by Justice Ecke, second by Justice Dennis. Mr. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Justice Bruns? Yes. Justice Wilson? Yes. Justice Massengill? Yes. Justice Rivera Lopez? Yes. Justice Ecke? Yes. Justice Dean? Yes. Justice Washington? Yes. Justice Coger? Yes. Justice Dennis? Yes. Justice Hires? Yes. Justice Rios Stafford? Yes. Justice Lemming? Yes. Justice Ricker? Yes. Justice Pond? Yes.
Item 9.1 passes. We added item, I don't have the item number, Counselor, but we read the added item from Justice Rios Stafford by title only.
An ordinance transferring $665,500 from various budgets to fund the construction of a new county fuel island and for other matters pertaining thereto.
Justice Rios Stafford?
Thank you, Judge. At last week's Finance and Budget Committee meeting and at our July County Services meeting, we heard details about the need for this new fuel island. At those two committee meetings, Comptroller Sherman asked for this ordinance to be prepared after those two meetings. It would transfer $665,500 in existing savings into the Buildings and Grounds budget to pay for construction. The breakdown would be $400,000 from Buildings and Grounds, $200,000 from jail operations and maintenance, and $65,500 from the Comptroller's office. And Comptroller Sherman tells us that all the departments are in unanimous agreement on this. He previously shared data with us on the 3 years of fuel use and the cost with us, along with the cost savings analysis. He sent those to our emails last week. Depending on the fuel prices, he says the county could save between $71,000 and $113,000 each year by shifting more of our fuel to a county-owned system and bidding the fuel annually. At those previous committee meetings, we heard about how the current fuel equipment is outdated, no longer supported, and causing downtime. This would give us a reliable system in place to keep county vehicles on the road and serving taxpayers. And so for these reasons, I move to approve this ordinance.
I have a motion to pass by Justice Rios Stafford. I believe I heard second by Justice Rivera Lopez. Any further discussion on the item 10? Justice Coger?
Yes, I have some questions. Will these tanks be above ground or underground?
That is one of the pending questions. Chief Stewart, do you want to address that question for us real quick? Sorry, sir. There you go.
All right. Currently, it's scheduled to be in-ground tanks, but we want to do whatever is the best for the taxpayer dollar on this. If it's a lot cheaper, we'll definitely go with above ground, but currently the bid was put out for in-ground.
Okay, another question. So I had an engineer that I spoke to about this, and he says if the tanks are underground, there's a fee that you have to pay to register them annually. Do you know how much that is? How much?
I heard that it was minimal. We were supposed to have some people here to speak on that tonight. I don't know if they showed up or not. But it's an annual fee that is there with that for the in-ground tanks. Basically what it does for the in-ground tanks is if you have real estate issue problems on that where you need more space, then they can go in-ground so you can drive over the top of them, use it like at a gas station or anything like that. If we went above ground, obviously we have room down there, we could do it. It is going to be going where we store our snow plows next to that. But again, it's whatever is best for the county on that. We're not hung up on one way or another.
Okay. Do you think, is this $665,500, is that going to be enough to do either above ground and underground and everything that goes with it?
Well, yes, that's for the in-ground. Obviously, if we went above ground, it would be a little cheaper than that. But that's supposed to be everything. Now, that's not including the top over it. We'll have to come back and do that later as far as a roof if we decide to put a housing over the top of it.
How long do you think it will take to build that, to get it up and going?
I don't have that answer. Okay. I know that the weather's going to start turning bad, so the sooner we got on it, the better.
Okay. Another question is, what about environmental concerns? Like if there was a leak or something, how have you all talked about how that would be addressed?
Again, they've got everything in the packet there with that. I'll get back with you on that. I'll look that up and see what that is. As far as the getting it all signed off is all part of the bid, though. For the permits is what I was trying to think of.
Okay, what about controls over use? Like who's going to watch, who's going to, I don't know, supervise or whatever to make sure that we have, that people who are using this, that they're accountable and that we know where...
Well, it'll be very similar to the way we do it now. There'll be either a fuel card or another, like a pro key or something like that that's assigned to a specific county vehicle. So they'll go up, they'll use that and pump the fuel into the vehicle. There's no difference in, I mean, even now we've got the county fuel cards that people could take those, go to any number of gas stations around the county and fill up their own tank with it.
And it relates back to them.
And it relates back, and that would be a whole lot harder to catch any wrongdoing there than it would be if we've got it right here on the site at the facility with people watching.
Okay, so will it take additional employees to do all that?
No, it's all handled with what we've already got.
What about ordering the fuel? How do you do that?
Same thing. We already do it now. There's no difference, no changeover in that. We're already doing all the same thing. It's just updating our current system to a new one that works most of the time.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Justice Lemming?
Thank you, sir. Mike, are you going to rebid this if you're going to talk about above-ground tanks?
We can.
Well, I think that's a good option.
Okay.
I know what Beth was talking about on the EPA and the record keeping. Whenever you have them in the ground like that, they have to have sensors in the ground. They have to have sump pumps in the ground. They have to have a lot more equipment that goes along with it than above ground. Above ground, naturally, you can see them. The in-ground tanks are double-walled tanks, just as same as above-ground tanks. And if you put them above ground, then you can concrete between the two walls, and that makes them fireproof and bulletproof.
Yeah, like I said, we're not hung up on being above ground or in ground. We want what's best for the county.
Right.
And so either way is fine with us. We just need something to be able to continue to meet the needs of the county for fuel.
Yeah, and the new system, you know, she's talking about ordering fuel, it'll take up.
It should be automatic.
It'll
Like it'll
be
have
automatic.
sensors in it.
Yeah, you'll
but
have
we'll also have people that stay on top of that as well to make sure that we don't run out.
And
We'll want to keep it basically full for any natural emergency or anything like
And
that.
the good thing about the ones above ground, the sensors, if they go off at 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody has to go down there, and then when they're above ground, you don't have any of that stuff to worry about. That's all a whole lot better deal. And basically, the in-ground tanks will be encased. They basically won't touch the dirt. It'll be gravel around them. It'll be lots of stuff. I mean, that's the bigger expense of the in-ground versus the above ground is the cost for digging the hole. If it's rocky, it's dynamiting, and then it's the certified gravel that you have to put back in around the tanks to make them certified through the state. Right. I mean, there's just a lot more that goes with them in the ground. And we've got the real estate down there to do that. Sure. I believe, and I really believe we need to get a above ground bid on this thing, because everybody can say we're in a hurry. We're not in no hurry. We got cards, we got fuel tanks down at Morrow's big enough to handle a lot. We've still got time, but I think we'll do good if we keep them above ground. Okay. Thank you.
Justice Pond?
Mike,
yes, sir.
It's been a while since we've had any discussion about these fuel cards, and I was just curious, whenever an employee brings a county vehicle and they pump fuel and use that card, is it recorded in there what the mileage is on the vehicle?
As long as they enter it accurately, yes. Now, it's obviously, it's just a keypad, so it's up to the employee to not hit 1111 or something like that, to actually look at the odometer when they get out and enter it. But yes, it does.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on the fuel island? Any public comments on this item? I'm sorry, Justice Ricker, I didn't see you before Justice Ricker, I'm going to recognize you, but is that all right?
That's fine. I'm sorry. I hit the button, turned it off, and turned it back on. I did talk to some of the people at the county road department, and they were talking about the in-ground or above ground. If they go with the in-ground, they told me that the road department was going to dig the hole to bury these. Now, as far as what you put back in the hole, I assume that's contract.
Absolutely. We try to find any way we can self-perform. I believe Chief talked about the awning over. We believe that we can self-perform that work to save money for the taxpayers, and so absolutely we'll do whatever is necessary. Public comments?
Sherry Main, Riches Road, Fayetteville. I just had a question I wanted to ask. On the, how many tanks will there be? Is there going to be off-road diesel, on-road diesel, unleaded? And then when they're filling up the tanks for the off-road to service the road graders and the off-road equipment, how is the monitoring done on that for accountability? That was my only question.
Ms. Main, if you'll email us, we'll try to get you those answers. Thank you. Public comments?
Sarah Moore, Fayetteville. It's a little perplexing. I understand we probably need this. This is a project that the county needs to do in the future soon. But we just listened to a report that just ripped at the credibility of the sheriff's office. And then part of the funding source is operations and maintenance money, I believe from the quarter-cent sales tax, but I apologize because it got walked on. The public has not seen a copy of this, and it's not on the screen. I think to the tune of about $200,000, if I heard correctly. Right now, we know the quarter-cent sales tax overspends. We know that the operations and maintenance is not fully covered. And so I'm concerned about the additional $200,000 being pulled and would like to understand deeper discussions around that, especially because we haven't had a public discussion of the additional 88-bed expansion, the $18.8 million expansion at the jail. That's also going to be about $2 million plus yearly in operating expense out of that same bucket. And so I'm incredibly concerned with that even project looking to be overspent. We've just had an extensive report that was given by the county judge's office that really raised a lot of questions and concerns about financially what the stewardship has been in regard to the books at the sheriff's office. I don't know that it's very appropriate to move forward at this time, knowing that part of the financial obligation is being tied to sheriff's office money in this manner, because I think it raises a lot of questions about whether or not really that money is there to cover that. We haven't had a public accounting of the large jail expansion project. In looking at 3 of the items that's in a letter to you today, those are overspending by 20% to 50% each on versus budget. And those are numbers that we're going to have to figure out in the future. So $200,000 doesn't sound like a lot right now, but added to $2 million in operation costs, another $500,000 or $1 million overspend potentially on capital, I'm incredibly concerned. And so I just hope we can ask those questions before we move forward on this project, knowing we need it, but doing the appropriate diligence before we push this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comments.
Good afternoon, Kenneth Lovett, Fayetteville, Arkansas. We have a problem in Washington County. Our judge grandstands, and then we have a man come up here and talk about what all's going on a police report, and then he can't even tell us if he wants in the ground or above the ground. Hadn't even thought about it. Where's the money going? Where's it coming from? How much is it going to be? You're the problem.
No further public comments. Mr. Allen, please call the roll.
Justice Bruns? No. Justice Wilson? Yes. Justice Massengill? Yes. Justice Rivera Lopez? Yes. Justice Ecke? Yes. Justice Dean? Yes. Justice Washington? Yes. Justice Coger? No. Justice Dennis? No. Justice Hires? Yes. Justice Rios Stafford? Yes. Justice Lemming? Abstain. Justice Ricker? Yes. Justice Pond? Abstain.
Item number 10 passes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm taking that as like a third reading ordinance. I'm sorry. It had 9 votes, so I'll move on to next month. With that, we'll move on. We have county services and finance and budget committee meetings. The reports are in the packet, and without objection, we'll be adjourned.